Hello and welcome to Iceland Roundup,
Hello.
where we
Hello.
try to talk about last week's news in Iceland.
Yes.
I'm Jón Trausti, and with me are two guys.
Two guys.
Einn, tveir og Sindri
Aðalsteinn.
Eldon.
Okay, thanks for that.
Yeah.
That's gonna solve it.
Syncopation.
Syncopation.
Put Steely Dan on the top.
Right.
Wow.
Wow. All right.
How
So
do we follow up on this?
we'll.
I'd like to just once tell a joke that you guys laugh at instead of going, wow. Yeah, I did it. That was good.
I was just gonna ignore it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I can't.
I visualized it. I made it happen.
should we start? We'll start with the teacher strike. Last Friday, the state mediator mediating the disputes over salaries between the teachers union and the government on one hand, and then the Association of Municipalities, which run most of the schools. He came up with a mediation plan to end the dispute. The teachers union agreed, but the Union of Municipalities passed on that notion, and this has put bad blood into the dispute. And strikes
Because everyone was so in love before.
This was going really well for the past 5 months.
Yeah. It's been taking a while, and it's put more bad blood in the dispute. Strikes are imminent now after the winter recess that ends tomorrow. There's been talk about both. Some municipalities have been talking about just coming to an agreement with the teachers union by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And there's also been sort of a cry of foul play that some political parties or politicians were kind of pushing to not agree in some sort of a political maneuver. You guys, have you been following up on this?
Unfortunately, yes.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yeah, I mean, it
Unfortunately, Aðalsteinn has been doing his job.
Yeah. Yeah, but what's really interesting with this is what did you call it? The Union of Municipalities.
Yeah,
in Icelandic it's Samband Íslenskra, so relationship of Icelandic
municipalities.
Yeah, even less pronounceable in English. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't look up what the official.
Yeah, we call them Cs, don't we?
Cs.
Yeah, or Sambandið.
Cease and desist.
Yeah,
seize the day.
Seize the day.
Because the newly appointed mayor of Reykjavík, Heiða Björg Hilmisdóttir, she's also the chairwoman of Sambandið.
Yeah, how does that happen? Was she just?
She's the first one to chair this union of municipalities who is not a member of Sjálfstæðisflokkurinn, the Independence Party, the historical ruling party of Iceland.
Mm-hmm.
So why are they shitting themselves over how politicized this is if it's always been politicized? If the head of Cs has always been from a political party?
Yeah, it's like the board of Cs is made up of council people from all over Iceland. And it was like a political achievement when she was elected chairperson of the board. But now the majority coalition in Reykjavík that collapsed, and she made a new one with only left-leaning and populist parties, and so she has lost support to chair the
Union of Municipalities.
Wow, we need to figure out the easier name for it.
The relationship.
The relationship.
The situationship.
Let's call it the UM.
The UM.
Mm-hmm.
I think we should call it the situation.
Yeah, the situation.
Yeah.
She chairs the situation, but she has lost support.
Mm-hmm.
And this board of the situation that's made up of these political elected people all around the country, they need to agree on the new
agreement,
kjarasamningur.
Yeah.
It's
the salary
agreement.
Yeah. And she was the only one willing to say, yes, let's just finish this and agree to this
mediation suggestion.
Yeah. Wow, these are really complicated words. And she's heading Iceland's like I can't explain how enormous Reykjavík is in all of this context, because I mean, what are there, 90,000, 100,000 people living in Reykjavík? That's 1/3 of the entire population,
give or take.
Give or take. So if Reykjavík decides to like end their relationship with the relationship of municipalities and just deal with the teachers' unions, the situationship. If they deal directly with the unions, I mean, they really are like
sinking this.
Yeah. Then the other municipalities really don't have any choice. And now C is like saying, okay, if the rest of them don't agree, Reykjavík will just
accept this mediation proposal or whatever we call it.
And then the strike is going to end in all schools in Reykjavík. And I mean, she is going to be a winner, because her party, Samfylkingin, the Social Democratic Alliance, is like, their support is really based on like government employees, teachers, people with university degrees. So she's gonna it's gonna be a huge win for her to manage to put together a coalition in the city council that's more in agreement about what to do in the city than the previous coalition that held for only like
3 weeks.
And she's gonna end this teachers' strike possibly if she takes Reykjavík out of the relationship. I don't know what words we're using.
No, maybe
coalition of the willing.
I guess coalition of the willing. I guess for context, the schools in Iceland are generally run by the municipalities. It was the government until the mid-90s, where responsibility for schools was moved towards the municipalities. And to simplify things, all the municipalities in Iceland have some sort of a common ground, a union of sorts, which then collectively come to collective agreements with the teachers union and other unions for various other services. So, and you know, there's been an ongoing months process in trying to figure this out, and there have been strikes in the fall and all sorts of things going on. So this is not exactly a new problem, but this is definitely a new development.
A yearly problem.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess, I don't know about you, Sindri, but I guess both of us remember strikes back in the 90s and 90s as something that tended to happen.
I missed exactly 1 day of grade school thanks to strikes. Yeah. There was like some strike when I was like 11, and then they were like, oh, it's going to last for months. And I was like, yes, this is awesome. And then it lasted 1 day and they settled it. This is the biggest disappointment of my childhood.
Yeah, I missed like 7 or 8 weeks in the 7th grade when they went on a strike. And this, do you remember Pop TV, the Icelandic version of MTV?
Well, I know it existed, but I lived outside of its radius.
They started like this daytime program where they showed like really sketchy reality TV competitions. One that I remember is Paradise Hotel, where they put a lot of like single people. Or no, it wasn't single people. It was like couples who came to this exotic hotel somewhere in, I don't know. No.
Was it sort of on a highway between Selfoss and Reykjavík or something?
No, it wasn't Icelandic. It was
okay. Yeah, okay, so they were rerunning some foreign shows.
Yeah. And the show was based around that getting people to have an affair while they're like
that old
boyfriend,
chestnut
girlfriend was in the next room or something.
Yeah.
It was like, I was in the 7th grade. How old am I? Like 13 or something? And like watching it from like 9, 10 in the morning until my parents came home from work, and it was like, we're guarding the child. We're like making sure the kids who are missing out on school don't do anything stupid.
Yeah, I remember when that show was on, but like even kids who were watching it were like, this is stupid. Why do they even go on the show? Like they know they're gonna cheat. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
So YouTube isn't exactly any worse than just classic TV.
No.
No.
My son learned to say very very early he started saying to us, click to subscribe. and a lot of people were like, that's kind of disturbing. And it's like, it's actually less disturbing than the fact that like we can all sing little jingles for like stupid commercials or distribution companies. Like we all know the 20th Century Fox fanfare. And like, how is that different from some like poor YouTuber in his basement just like, please, give me some likes and stuff? Like, I think that's actually kind of better than
more egalitarian,
feeding some horrible machine. Yeah.
But this is like a great time to remind our viewers on YouTube to click and subscribe.
Yes, please do.
And if you're listening on Spotify, you can follow.
Click and subscribe.
Yeah.
So it seems like most of the people that like are watching this, at least on YouTube, seem to be people who have already come to Iceland and are not necessarily planning on coming back. Is that the
Do you think that
impression
happens a
you
lot
get?
if you visit Iceland?
I mean,
I'd like to know how
Yeah.
often that happens, because I mean I can't imagine anyone wanting to come back here.
Well, yet here we are.
always when I leave, it's like hard to return. So
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
and I have like
It feels
kids
like
and stuff here.
yeah, it feels like you've broken parole, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like you got to come back.
But do you guys want to talk about, like, there are other problems with the whole school system as we actually haven't addressed, I guess, because there is, on the one hand, there is staffing issues. There's
Mhm.
obviously the how much people are getting paid contributes to that, but there's also talk about the whole system having kind of deteriorated over the past 20 years. So we're showing up with worse results.
It's hard to imagine kids learning even less than I did in grade school. But
Yeah, I would say that too. But so we're scoring lower on international sort of tests for.
You're talking about PISA.
I didn't want to say the word.
No.
Yeah,
why not?
How
Is it a dirty word?
PISA?
Yeah.
it's a city.
Yeah.
It's a leaning tower.
And they get to decide how good
They're in
schools are.
charge
They
of,
live in
like,
the Leaning Tower, and they're like, this school looks wonky.
Yeah, so
It's not, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
so
The school needs straightening out.
So I over the past 20 years, Iceland's scores have been dropping almost as fast as a steel object thrown out of the Tower of Pisa.
Mhm.
Sorry.
They have steel back then.
No.
Well,
No.
they have steel today.
Yeah.
And the
That's how
tower
they
is still-
judge the schools. They drop a piece of steel out of the tower, and
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, okay, this school is good.
So anybody want to comment on that? It's not only a financial or money issue. It's also I guess, a question of teaching philosophy almost. We've kind of drifted into something that we don't seem to be able to.
Well, I have like strong opinions on this because I have two kids in grunnskóli. What's that?
Grade school.
Grade school,
Yeah. And two in kindergarten.
Mm-hmm.
So they will be eventually, hopefully, in grade school.
Assuming they graduate from
Yeah, and it's
the
like
grueling exams.
we're always talking about reading and understanding what you read, and
Mhm.
that's like especially with young boys, they don't like to read, and when they do, they don't understand what they read, and it's getting worse and worse.
Mhm.
But in the schools, it's like accepted, like when you're supposed to study at home and read a book and like read for 15 minutes and write a little bit about what you read. It's okay now in some schools to listen on Storytel or Spotify on like
Riddle me
audiobooks.
this. Weren't they trying to sue the pants off Storytel a few months ago? What happened with that? How are they still running their scam game?
Well, I guess they run like Spotify, in a sense.
Yeah.
You know.
We should like have this show on Storytel so people can click and subscribe there. Like they
It's a
can
lot of-
do
lot of-
on YouTube and Spotify and
A lot of good money in
Yeah,
it.
I'll be laughing out of the other side of my mouth when Storytel start giving me fat paychecks.
yeah, do you have books on Storytel? Have you written
No.
a book?
Well,
that's on
no, I haven't
Storytel?
had anything
No.
published, no. But yeah, I mean, I sympathize with like Icelandic writers whose stuff is on there and they don't see a dime for it. You know,
Yeah,
it's
we
a
are-
really bum deal they're
Y-
getting.
You have a book there?
Yeah, I
also?
have one book, and like I don't collect any like payments
Royalties,
from it.
yeah.
Royalties. We like donate them to Namibia because the book is on corruption in Namibia. Icelandic
that's nice of you.
corruption. in
That's cool.
Yeah, but I don't think we're actually like getting anything from Storytel. It's so like minuscule that
So they're taking the Namibia money?
no, they're not taking the Namibia money, but they're not. Yeah, okay, in a way, maybe, yeah.
In a
It's
way
like,
they are,
yeah,
maybe, yeah.
it's
So
criminal.
we just somehow systematically continue to exploit Africa.
Yeah,
We
now
just can't
through-
help it.
No.
Now
It's
through
just a
Sweden.
habit we can't break.
Yeah,
So from King Leopold's ghosts to something else. Shit, I don't know why I said that.
can
Anyway.
we say
It's a
shit?
good line.
Yeah.
Oh man, the
internet is
shit
full
I've
of
said
shit.
on this podcast
Yeah,
already.
okay, yeah.
Maybe you need to brief me on what I can and can't say.
Apparently nothing is
Yeah,
off limits.
It's more fun to let me hang myself that way.
PG-13 something.
Yeah, the more
Yeah.
you say shit and fuck, I will have to like press some things on.
Beep. No, you're not gonna beep. It's like okay. Now I'm just gonna shut up, and you can continue with presenting the next item.
Oh yeah, the other
Yeah,
items. Yeah.
I'm gonna check one thing here.
I like that he said a thing and then we did nothing but comment.
Yeah.
And then he was like, "Do you have any comments?"
So anyway,
Uh,
I'm gonna drop these piece of headphones off my head and then continue with the next story.
Yeah.
It was reported, I think last Thursday, or maybe it was the weekend, I can't remember now, that the football or soccer for our American listeners,
Sockball.
softball. There was a soccer team's bus vandalized in Mosfellsbær. Mosfellsbær is one of the suburbs of Reykjavík. And this bus belonged
I think you
to...
just pissed off some Mosfellsbær people by saying that.
yeah, both of them are gonna be really pissed.
Dota DNI is going to beat you up.
Yeah, come at me, Tori. He can. I'm pretty sure he can. So the team in Mosfellsbær is called Afturelding, and their beloved team's bus of 15 years got smashed. And in an interview, one spokesperson of the team said, quote, "The community is in shatters," quote ends, over the vandalism. So the bus is originally from 1984, and the story on Vísir said it would be hard to procure spare parts for it, so maybe this is the end. So guys, are you as shattered as the people of Mosfellsbær about this?
But it's like a 40-year-old bus we're talking about.
Yeah.
What is this soccer you speak of? It's a sport?
I believe it's something where people kick a round air-filled ball
You
around the
mean
field.
kickball.
Slightly different, but
All
similar.
right, all seriousness aside, can I just use this opportunity to ask, what the hell does Afturelding mean? It's like
Backfire.
it sounds like fart, right? Like, am
Yeah.
I the only person who
No,
thinks
no,
this
no.
is, I mean, is this, yeah, it's such an obvious, so yeah, like, Afturelding, like reverse lightning, or, lightning from behind.
Yeah, but isn't it like again lightning? Lightning
like
again.
revenge
Yeah.
lightning?
Yeah.
Backlit, maybe? Something is backlit?
Yeah. What does this even mean?
I
I
don't
mean,
know,
I
but this
feel like if I
reminds me-
stared long enough at this bus that says Afturelding on it, I might smash all the windows just out of pure annoyance. It's just like, what does this word even mean?
Mhm.
You guys any
Wow, we
idea how...
solved it.
Have you guys any idea how Afturelding is doing in the Icelandic soccer
God, no.
world?
No.
Yeah.
Should we never bring up sports again on this
No,
show?
no,
we can bring up sports, but don't like
Don't expect us to
expect us
know
to
anything
know.
about it. But I think it speaks volumes about sort of, Iceland's interest in sports, that, yeah, there is, like a country of, 350,000 people, and there's like, a pretty much a functioning soccer league here. But,
is there?
yeah,
Yeah,
because,
okay.
but people, but yeah, many people don't even pay attention to it. We'd much rather follow, leagues in other countries or stuff like that.
I guess we have almost as many soccer teams as we have swimming pools.
Mm-hmm.
Even more in Reykjavík. Because there seems to be like one swimming pool for each team. or one swimming pool per town or municipality.
Yeah,
Usually
is
comes-
there a town in Iceland that doesn't have a swimming pool? Yeah, maybe Eyrarbakki.
Yeah, I think
something.
Kópasker does not have a swimming pool.
Okay, but they
Kópasker is-
probably have this like, you know, the fish tanks.
They have a hot tub, I know that. And
Yeah.
maybe it's a fish
It's like an
tank.
old fish tank. They
Yeah.
fill with water.
Probably cold water just to remind them
Yeah.
of
Are
their...
there fish in it? Can you like swim with the fishes?
I mean, if you live in Kópasker, that might be the only way you're not lonely in the hot tub.
Yeah, it sounds quite nice.
That Kópasker is a lovely place.
It's a lovely
You
place,
can-
but there's
yeah.
not a lot going on there.
It's like a hot tub you can snorkel in. I'm down with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The baby seal scary, I guess that's what it's called in English.
Yeah, the baby seals.
Scary.
Yeah, yeah.
Scary is an English word for
Yeah.
Wow.
not frequently used, I am told, by English people.
Yeah, it's a cognate of the Icelandic word. It means like a rock in the ocean.
A baby seal rock in the ocean town. Wow.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, can you come up with another town with a better translation?
No.
Hella.
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 Yeah, but I mean, what's the translation? Like tile? It means tile. Hella.
Well, I think it actually, I think it refers to the caves there.
Yeah.
Hellir is cave.
Oh, okay, right.
I don't know how it got baked into whatever it is now.
It used to be. It's like Hollywood used to be Hollywoodland, but then a storm blew the
The wood away.
land.
Oh, sorry, land.
Yeah. So yeah, maybe so. Hetla used to be called Hetlabær or something like cave town.
Cave town.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, it could be.
That's rock hard.
They should go for like a Flintstones style makeover. Like
Yeah,
really
they're-
lean into that whole cave.
Yeah, they're gonna
image.
change their like local restaurant, Kanslarin, to Flintstones themed restaurant.
Bolorama.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
one of those
cool.
weird restaurant names in the country, like the Chancellor. Why? The Chancellor, the Baron, the whatever,
Yeah.
the Peer,
The pier.
the Peerage,
Yeah.
the Lord.
I guess Iceland sort of has something of a history of fetishizing gentry, you know, like we have lords and ladies here because we never really had those.
No, I think there was one guy, and that's it.
Who?
Hvað heitir hann?
Þorgeir Ljósvetningagoði.
Nei, Þorgeir Kakali?
What?
Þórður Kakali.
Þórður Kakali. I think maybe he was, or maybe it was the other guy. Never
Thord
mind.
the Jackal.
Yeah,
International terrorist.
One 13th century warlord managed to secure an earldom, I think,
Wow.
from the King of Norway.
That's an achievement.
Yeah.
famous
kind of.
for hijacking longships and
Yeah.
demanding manure.
Manure.
Yeah.
So he was a pirate?
Yeah. We
Shit-
can
a
just
shit-
make this up as we go along.
A shit pirate.
Sure. Yeah, he was a shit pirate.
Yeah.
That was a big problem in the 13th century.
Shit pirate.
The shit pirates. There was the triangle of shit that they were shipping the shit to the colonies in Vineland and to Portugal.
I always
We're the Reykjavík
learn.
Roundup.
They
We
would
really learn
trade
things.
the donkey shit,
No,
Mm.
Iceland
For-
Roundup, sorry.
the cow shit, and
Mhm.
then get horse shit and it was the triangle of shit.
Yeah, but did you know that like we have this rich history of the sagas and the manuscripts and stuff? Do you know how we afford to make those?
Do you mean in the 13th century?
Drugs?
Yeah, not today. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
easy to print books today, Jóndi.
So they say,
Says the guy who's had a book published. It might
Yeah,
be
actually,
easy for
it's
you.
really easy. No, it's because we like functioned as a middleman with goods that were produced in Greenland,
Mhm.
and they had to like stop on the way to Iceland, and we bought them really cheaply from Greenland, and then sold them to Europe
dearly.
for like a lot of profit. So Iceland is like the world's best functioning middleman.
In the
Yeah.
Middle Ages.
Yeah.
Entrepot trading, I think they call that. Yeah.
So we
Yeah,
were,
that says a lot about our country, doesn't it? I
Yeah.
feel like that's really been baked into our character. It's like
so it would be like walrus tusks and
Mm-hmm.
whatever else they were importing from Norway.
skulls of Greenlanders.
Now it's like polar bear skins.
Yeah, polar bear skins,
Yeah.
live polar bear bears
I would
maybe.
really like
It's like,
to,
and you can get these in Iceland. Oh, sure, I killed this polar bear myself just yesterday.
with my bare hands.
Yeah.
polar bear hand.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, okay, I'm not gonna tell this story now.
No, okay.
If not now, when?
No, it's not gonna reflect good on me.
None of this is reflecting good on any of us.
Well, thanks.
So, okay, next story. Our prime minister was in the Ukraine, or is in the Ukraine. Kay Frost.
Yeah.
She was in Kyiv yesterday, along with the Prime Minister of Norway and Denmark, Justin Trudeau, a lot of other famous politicians.
Laughing it up.
She announced there that Iceland would be providing 2 more billions of kroner to aid to the Ukraine, totaling about 3.6 billion in aid from Iceland to Ukraine this year.
Mm-hmm. That's like Icelandic kroner. We have to like.
Yeah, it sounds better in kroner than it does in dollars. So yesterday also marked the 3-year anniversary of Russia's
I like how our bullshit
invasion.
currency just masks how, the chicken shit that this actually is.
Yeah, it's like 25 million US.
Yeah, at least it's millions. That's something.
Yeah.
So yeah, because yesterday marked the 3-year anniversary of Russia's illegal invasion into Ukraine. And also yesterday, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, she was in Geneva, addressing the United Nations Human Rights Council, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And there she said that, Iceland was obviously providing more aid, but we were also providing money for arms for the Ukraine. So weapons. And first of all, cool, we're giving Ukraine more aid. It's not a lot of money, but at least it's something. Second, do you guys really, this was kind of discussed in the presidential elections?
Yeah.
But we have sort of historically at least told ourselves that the money we're providing into foreign aid is not used for arms.
Yeah, and it's like in a way that we're still trying to do something in the middle, because most of the money that we're providing now will go into this Danish initiative to enable the Ukrainians to manufacture weapons and artillery or something.
Drones, probably, maybe?
Drones and stuff like that. So most of the money that's for military use is not gonna be directly invested in buying weapons and arms.
Yeah, it's always a step removed.
Yeah,
like that. Yeah.
But we and that's why it was discussed during the presidential elections last year that we have for the first time, I think, directly purchased weapons to deliver to the Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, and does Iceland know anything about buying weapons? We've never had an army. We don't have.
I'm assuming they called some arms dealer, in England or something. It's just like, hey, what should I get them? It's like your grandma calling someone to help with their Christmas presents.
Yeah.
So what does he like?
Yeah.
What kind of guns do they like over there?
Well,
the AK-47, is that a good gun?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they all used to buy when I was a kid.
But when the Icelandic police force tried to get some guns a few years ago, they got discontinued guns from the Norwegian army.
Yeah, the guns the Norwegians didn't want.
Were those the Glocks semi-automatics or whatever? It was machine guns, wasn't it?
Yeah, machine guns.
Yeah, submachine guns.
Yeah. And it was the Norwegian army just gave them to Iceland.
Yeah.
We're going to throw them away. We're going to melt these guns so you can have them. So that's Iceland's history with buying weapons.
Funny if it was some belt-fed machine gun.
Yeah.
Cops would be.
I guess we can always sort of rely on Sweden here. They do manufacture a lot of arms.
Yeah.
So I guess that's where our money goes. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe they just send the money and just finally just don't have any caveats about what it's
Yeah, if you really want to help someone by giving the money, you can't. Yeah, what they use the money to procure is their own business.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just virtue signaling, right?
Yeah, and it's also if we are putting up money for them to build, we did, a mobile hospital.
Mm-hmm.
That just means that they can use the money, I don't know, the UK or Norway or Sweden provide to buy more arms. So it's
yeah, it's a kind of an exercise in it's a weird exercise. It's kind of like when governments put on a tax earmarked for some projects,
Yeah.
but all tax money goes into one bank account, and then out of that bank account, stuff is paid for by the government.
And you're
So
not even
saying
allowed to earmark.
No, so like even saying that things are earmarked is just bullshit, basically.
Yeah.
So I guess we finally simply just given up on the illusion that the money we provide isn't used for arms and stuff like that, instead of anything really changing. If you know what I mean. That
I do know what you mean.
Yeah, because that money is probably going for arms anyway, no matter what we say.
Yeah.
It all goes into the same pile, and then, end of story. Yeah, right. Wow.
But what do you think the leaders of the Nordic nations that were in the same train cabin on their way to Kyiv,
Yep.
what do you think they were talking about? It's like a long trip. Right?
It's a long
Hors
trip.
d'oeuvres.
What do they like? I think they all.
I could never be a politician because of all the small talk. I can only imagine how fucking boring their conversations must be.
I guess. I think I saw a picture and it was like Jonas Sture from Norway and Mette Frederiksen from Denmark.
Mm-hmm.
And then was it Justin Trudeau in the same cabin? And then Kristrún Frostadóttir, I'm not sure. They could, if Kristrún was not there, talk about something like ice hockey, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because we
do the Danes have ice hockey?
Maybe they don't.
Maybe they just talked about Eurovision.
Yeah, they could have talked about Eurovision, yeah. That's something. I don't really know. I mean,
it's like you can't talk.
What's the common ground?
Politics all the time. They must talk about something.
Maybe and
personal.
Yeah, it's also kind of problematic because people aren't watching the same TV shows anymore, so you can't even make small talks about that.
Something on Netflix.
Yeah, but it's difficult because maybe nobody else maybe Justin Trudeau wasn't watching whatever you're watching, Succession or something.
I think Justin Trudeau was watching Succession, and that's a great show.
Yeah.
Maybe
I think K Frost is probably watching Severance or some shit.
Maybe they were talking about the next season of Survivor that starts on Wednesday.
Good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it on an island the French own or something?
No, it's in Fiji, I think.
What about why don't they do these shows on some of those old French prison colonies in South America?
Mm-hmm.
What is that movie from the 70s? Pavilion? It takes place on Devil's Island. Make it really a challenge.
Yeah.
Will you survive? We're not sure.
Yeah. It's not all just fun and games.
No, I feel like they should up the game for ratings.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, it's always eventually it will happen.
Yeah.
The people will up the game for ratings.
Mm-hmm.
And Devil's Island is right there, and I don't know if the French still use it.
Yeah, you're advocating for the Running Man, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah. I mean, we live in this sort of whatever version of capitalism this is now, and this kind of just seems like normal now.
Yeah,
that's wonderful.
On that positive note,
yeah.
Well, all right. So we're buying arms for other people. That's fine, I guess.
Doing our whole middleman thing.
Yeah. So, as you may have noticed, the numbers of tourists arriving in Iceland has kind of reached the same height it was in before COVID.
Yeah, last year there was a record number of passengers traveling with Iceland Air, our biggest airline. Also, record number of passengers traveling with the other Icelandic airline called Play.
So there's a lot of demand. People are coming to Iceland by the plane loads.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do any of them leave? We don't know. They might still be in the Highlands somewhere.
Yeah, there's a lot of space here to get lost. But you were pointing out, Aðalsteinn, that even though the going is good, or whatever you say, these two Icelandic airlines just bleed money.
Yeah,
they're losing.
Cannot make money. I was for the past 5 years, and of course, COVID restrictions are part of these 5 years. They collectively have lost 87.6 billion Icelandic kronur.
That's 20 times more than the 8 to the Ukraine.
Yeah, And it's like last year alone, it was like 9.2 billion Icelandic kronur that these two airlines lost while like traveling or like moving more passengers than ever. Like it doesn't matter how many people want to fly with them, they cannot make money.
Maybe the airlines should start selling weapons. It seems to be something we do very well.
Yeah, isn't like Boeing the manufacturer? Isn't that like an arms company?
Yeah.
Well, I think they've unintentionally harmed some people, but I don't think that really counts as arms manufacture.
No, don't they manufacture stuff for like
sure,
military companies?
yeah.
I think
does,
I mean,
so maybe
I think the B-52 is a Boeing. I think
Glock started out as like a horse company, didn't
Yeah.
they? Yeah, they made like horse riding accessories.
Yeah, I mean,
And someone was like, you know what I'd love when I go out horse riding? A gun. Can you make me a gun? And they're like, yeah, we can probably
sure.
throw something together.
horseshoes.
Throw something together.
Yeah. Whatever they do in Austria when they need to kill someone. Go to the hardware store. And
But to be fair, like Iceland, there in the past 5 years, one year they actually turned a profit.
Was that during COVID?
No, it's like 2023.
Oh yeah, okay.
But then their like earnings plummeted.
was that the year Justin Timberlake came here?
I feel like that was earlier.
Oh, that was
come
earlier.
every year. I don't know.
You're talking about JT, right?
Yeah, he's here right now.
Yeah,
He's here in spirit.
I'm JT.
JT, whoa. Do you excel at everything? That's like an Icelandic joke.
Yeah, that's
not gonna
untranslatable.
translate,
That's so Icelandic, I didn't even get it.
Now, don't you remember then this like Smartland, which is like a
No.
It's the gossip column in the last remaining daily paper in Iceland.
Yeah.
And they do a lot of translations of foreign gossip news. And sometimes they stumble on some words
translate.
in translation. And
this article that was like Justin Timberlake excels at everything.
Mm-hmm.
And they translated that Justin Timberlake uses Microsoft Excel spreadsheets at everything.
Well, that would explain why he's pretty much disappeared off the face of the earth. If he's doing all his tour planning in Microsoft Excel, like, that shit's not going to go right.
Excels at everything.
But so how does this work? How do the two airlines lose 90 billion kroner
Well,
and still exist?
because we have the Icelandic pension funds that invest a lot of money in these airlines.
Mm-hmm.
It's like with Play, which is a new airline. They're only about 5 years old.
Yeah.
So they've never turned a profit. They move around like 1.5 million passengers each year now. Their biggest shareholder is this pension fund called Birta. It's like
Light Dawn or something.
Birdie.
Birdie. Birta.
And they're like have like
Big Bertha.
yeah, they have a big wallet at least
Yeah.
because they like are pumping money into this, but they also have like private investors. It's like this guy who owns a company that services airlines in Keflavík Airport Associates, it's called. He makes a lot of money from that business. He has put a lot of money into Play, which like in return is one of his biggest customers.
Right.
No conflict of interest there.
And then we have one of the biggest shareholders in the Blue Lagoon.
Mhm.
They're a big shareholder in Play, and of course the Blue Lagoon makes a lot of money, and they need people to travel to Iceland to like pay the
Yeah.
admissions fee to the Blue Lagoon.
So there is some interest in actually
yeah,
making money from the Blue Lagoon by losing money from airlines.
I don't know.
Maybe there's some logic in it,
logic in that. And with Icelandair, I mean, it's for years that the government has been willing to come to their aid.
Yeah.
Either directly or indirectly. Like during COVID, they bought up some like routes. They paid Icelandair to fly.
to operate like Reykjavík, Stockholm, and stuff like that.
Yeah, something like that, just to keep them afloat, basically.
Yeah, I traveled home during the summer of 2020 through Copenhagen on one of those paid for by the state
Mhm.
flights, it was the most post-apocalyptic experience for me during COVID, because Kastrup Airport, which is gigantic, was empty and everything was closed.
Yeah.
So I had to bring like snacks for the kids because there was nothing to eat there and there was nobody there.
And they still charged you a fortune, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I guess the air was not free.
Yeah.
But it was potentially polluted, so I had to wear a mask.
That's nice.
Mm. No,
it's like a trip to remember.
Yeah, it is. It's a great trip to remember.
Yeah, but instead of like
thanks for the memories, COVID.
Yeah.
Instead of like becoming a shareholder, the Icelandic state, because of like political ideology, they try to like do some stuff without getting a stake to keep the airline afloat.
Yeah, I guess like
it's more complicated than that.
But it's kind of an interesting, like Iceland Air will never disappear basically as long as we need air travel.
Yeah, it's too big to fail.
It's too big. It's too important to fail, because if we do not have an airline here we can rely on, we are screwed in terms of like getting anywhere.
Yeah.
And the state will do basically anything except actually acquire it and make it a state-run airline, because that would lose too many of their buddies' money.
Yeah, I guess so.
It's like neolib cronyism at its finest.
It also limits the possibilities of. It would also limit the possibilities of the pension funds to lose a lot of money.
Yeah,
which is
we need the pension funds to like sometimes lose money.
Yeah,
so but I can point to when they don't lose money and say like we're doing stuff.
But this is in line with what we talked about recently.
The bar has been set very low for this country.
But this is what we talked about with the pension funds. They're like, they are, by law they have to make like a 5% profit on all of their investments per annum. And by law, they're also kind of closed into the Icelandic economy. They're not allowed to do a lot of investing abroad.
No, it's very limited.
It's very limited. So they're just stuck here with their money and a lot of demand to make good investments and very few opportunities to make good investments, which to an extent has made them, they almost function like the fall guy for every business venture in Iceland. Because they will literally put their money into any harebrained scheme, it seems, because they're so desperate to get some returns on their investments.
They are financing this podcast as a sign of their desperation.
And then if you are
this podcast is sponsored by Birta.
Yeah. So
Big
eventually
Bertha coming at you.
So in a way, it's kind of like this really weird system where you can kind of go into all of these ventures and never sort of have to deal with the consequences. So you could almost argue that the pension funds almost work like a massive ATM for the worst business people in Iceland.
Yeah, like an ATM for anyone who has sort of, snorted their way through business school and shaken hands with the right people.
Yeah. And I wonder how smart is that?
It's brought us to the wonderful place we are today. I mean, how can you possibly fault that?
Maybe reform?
I feel like there might be a better way to do this. But I don't know what that way is.
Well, then the other thing is, and this might be just how little I know about this, but we also have numerous pension funds.
Yeah.
And they all have a bunch of staff running them.
We have like 20 pension funds for 350,000 people.
And I was kind of under the impression that a lot of the people working there were working there to oversee the pension funds investments. But then over the past 10, 15, 20 years or whatever, they're kind of ceded the responsibility for investing to the 3 banks.
Yeah.
So I have
no idea. And each
of
the bank has like a dótturfyrirtæki, what's that? Subsidiary that manages like it's a verðbréfasjóður. What's that called? Like
a stock fund or something.
Yeah, stock portfolio.
Yeah.
And they like manage investments for a lot of these funds, in part or completely. And there are pension funds that are completely run by these companies, subsidiaries of the banks. And they seem to invest in stuff that the bank, that's supposed to be like a firewall in between, are interested in financing.
Strange.
Yeah.
Must be a coincidence.
Cannot be underscored enough, like how much the banks just run this country and do whatever they want.
But we own the banks. Like
theoretically.
70% of the Icelandic financial system is owned by the pension funds and the Icelandic state.
And yet the banks cannot be state-run because that would lose too many people money.
Yeah.
Or, like with Iceland there, where should the pension funds then put their money?
If I were to just play, like, devil's advocate here for a second and say that, like, flawed as this system may appear, we still live in a relatively safe place, where, 3 middle-aged men can do a podcast in the middle of the day.
It's like this is the second podcast I'm on.
Yeah, and then, go have a cheeseburger and see their families at the end of the day, provided they don't have a coronary.
Yeah, I guess this is
has the system really failed?
No, I guess to some extent it's kind of like the old quote that this is the worst system except for all the other systems.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
like you can fire a lot of bullets at the way Liechtenstein run their country, but they seem to have it pretty sweet down there. So it's like, can you really criticize them?
Or we can say like this definitely needs to be rethought and reformed, but at the same time, we do have it pretty good, and we should not forget that.
Yeah.
No, we shouldn't forget that.
But it doesn't. But it's not.
But more and more, there's like thousands of people living here who really have to struggle, who really have it, not very good, and because of the way various institutions are run, these people are often like, immigrants who don't speak Icelandic, and it's like creating this weird underclass here. And
we're heavily reliant on like immigrants doing the work that like no one else is gonna do.
Yeah, and this is the real failing of the system is that if you're not already if you're not, inside the system, doesn't appear to be an easy way in.
And if we're not gonna like continue with developing the system, if we're not gonna be like critical about how things are working, we're just gonna wake up one day and the system won't work like we want to, and we're not going to be in this same situation. And it can't be like, okay, you're playing devil's advocate, but we can't say it's like, since we have it so good, we're not going to try to improve. I mean, we have to be continually improving or trying to.
Yeah, I absolutely 100% agree. Yeah.
Sindri, I'm so disappointed in you. No.
I will never pretend to disagree with you again.
No, do it. I really like it when people disagree with me.
On that note, no, I'm kidding. All right. Do you guys wanna end with like the demoralizing news about melting glaciers in Iceland?
But isn't it like good news because Icelandic glaciers are melting slower than
than they were.
Yeah.
So there was a long story in Vísir on Friday which they kind of nicked from the BBC and Nature magazine on melting glaciers all over the world, and it said demoralizing things like the Greenland glacier and the Antarctic ice cap had lost like 5% of their volume over the past 20 years, which is a lot of water. But speaking of our own glaciers, they are also melting at an alarming rate. Though they melted less in the last 10 years than they did in the 10 years before that. So on average over the past 20 years, they've been losing like almost like a meter of their sort of thickness, which is, you can see pictures like of Vatnajökull, how like these edges have kind of withdrawn massively over the past 20 years. And the only glaciers in the world that are melting faster than our glaciers are like the ones in the Alps, the South Andes, and in New Zealand. But the fact that they have slowed down in terms of melting, we could look at that as good news, right? Or no.
It's so funny, just like as an aside, like, how, the image of Iceland on a map is so baked into your brain as a child of Vatnajökull looking the way it does. And now it just doesn't look like that anymore. Like, it's like you can sort of see your country changing in real time in like a way that maybe not many people do. But,
I would like to point out that the glaciers in the 10th century were smaller than they are now. Just, as a point of reference, that there are like these
They fluctuate.
Fluctuations in weather. But one of the reasons, allegedly, for the fact that the glaciers are now melting slower in Iceland than they were before is because the oceans around Iceland are cooling. And that has to do with that the sort of, not necessarily with Gulf Stream, but some of those sort of big streams in the Atlantic are kind of shifting. And this, instead of being a silver lining, this is actually bad news because of...
it's always bad news at the end of the day, isn't it? Even when it seems like it's good news. I mean, from my understanding of it, our seasons are just going to get more and more extreme, right? Like the winters will get colder and the summers will get hotter.
Well, this report didn't specify, but what it said was like if this trend of weather change will result in things like the Gulf Stream shifting, the average temperature in Iceland during winter will drop by about 10 degrees Celsius, which is a massive drop. And
fabulous news for a city that's already struggling to provide hot water to its population.
I thought you were going to say fabulous news for glaciers.
Yes, I wish Glaciers all the best. They are the true winners.
But I mean, this is kind of a thing that has kind of been on the news for a very long time. The whole thing about the Gulf Stream being the only reason why places like Iceland are habitable is something we've known about for a long time. And fear of the Gulf Stream shifting has been something we've been aware of for a long time. But,
And we're already habitable only in the loosest possible definition of the term.
Yeah, how would you, if you guys were tasked with the job of figuring out how we can survive on this island if the temperature drops by 10 degrees in the winter, what would you do?
Well,
host a season of Survivor here and see what they come up with.
And then, move the entire population to Sweden.
Yeah. Is that far south enough for us?
A friend of mine had this idea of building a giant tower in the middle of the country that was big enough to house the entire population, and we would all just live there. And
it's like a panopticon.
Yeah, I keep going back to would infrastructure would be a lot easier. We could survive.
Could we simply build gigantic greenhouses and just live on tomatoes and cucumbers into eternity? We have all this hot water.
I get acid reflux from tomatoes.
Okay, cucumbers.
Yeah. Spend the rest of my life eating cucumber. I like cucumber all right. I mean, that's...
Yeah, I mean, you're not eating the fish, so you're going to have to stick to the cucumbers.
Options are looking very limited.
Yeah, I mean, anything else we could do? I don't know.
Other than move away?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I'm just thinking about, we've been stubborn enough to be here for 1,200 years. How would we deal with this shit?
We don't have the infrastructure to take on the temperatures dropping by 10 degrees Celsius.
We start preparing now. We might have the infrastructure.
Yeah. If we start preparing now.
That's
my preparation will be buying a plot of land in Sweden.
All right. Sommarstuga i Sverige.
Yes.
Will be your solution to this.
Yep.
Well, during the last ice age, the Cro-Magnon man, I think Homo sapiens was called by whatever profession deals with that shit.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of just barely survived in southern Spain, so maybe you should move further south.
Then Sweden. If Sweden becomes uninhabitable, I don't want to inhabit any country.
They do have cheaper beer in Spain.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they have Aukaviti
in Sweden.
You say that like it's a good thing. Jesus Christ.
That's going to keep you warm.
Or Surströmming. They also have Surströmming, which is this delicacy that even beats shark in terms of just sheer horrible taste and smell.
It's really disgusting.
It's one of my favorite videos to watch on online. People opening cans of Surströmming. Just anywhere, anybody in the vicinity will immediately throw up.
Is it like lutefisk?
No, it's worse.
Worse?
Yeah. I have no idea really what it is.
It's like chemical warfare already. Yeah.
Lutefisk is basically something we have called sea and fiskur to an extent. It's kind of like semi-fermented or half-rotten or whatever. So it kind of works like, a cheese, like a blue cheese, that kind of a thing. Oh. So I'm
always learning about new ways Icelandic people are fermenting things. It's great. It's like there's no end to our fermentation plots.
We could have an update on a story we discussed 2 or 3 episodes ago.
Mm-hmm.
about the food poisoning at the Þorrablót.
Yeah.
They have figured out what part of the food was actually.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it was the rófustappa.
The turnip mash.
Yeah.
The
So the only thing that was not
Oh.
supposed to be like spoiled turned out to be like.
So we were completely off there. So
Yeah.
it wasn't the
It's
spoiled
a-
food that was
yeah,
causing the food poisoning.
It's
It
a
was
victory for the sour food.
it was the only allegedly fresh thing in the whole
Yeah.
pile of fermented crap.
I guess
That
the,
is
I guess the fact that we're still here, after all these hundreds of years living up here, is testament to the fact that preserving the food like that in the spoiled milk, it worked.
Yeah,
It protected it.
definitely.
It kept people alive.
Yeah, we should start. I mean, if the temperatures drop by 10 degrees, we will all have to get our own súrtunna.
yeah, and keep it warm instead of cold, right? Like that's gonna be a problem. If
We're
everything
gonna
is
keep
frozen.
it in the baðstofa.
Yeah, you sleep on top of it.
Yeah.
And you get a cow to sleep next to it.
Yeah.
That should do it. That worked in the Middle Ages.
This country must have smelled so bad back then.
Oh,
It's
yes.
just like on so many levels.
Oh, yes,
It's
they
not
did.
just like in other, places where it's just like, yeah, everything smelled of shit. But like here, it must have smelled of like shit and fish and like rotting meat and like spoiled milk.
Mm-hmm.
And like people would smell of it.
That's like the biggest reason that if they were to invent a time machine,
Mhm.
I would never use it.
Yeah, I guess that's good advice anyway, right?
Not to use the time machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't fuck with the
Space continuum.
space continuum. Thank you.
If you just travel forward in time, people would smell even better.
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine anyone smelling better than you guys. but-
There's the theory of
Wow.
like circular
Thank
history
you.
that maybe people smell bad every 300 years or something, so you might end up
Yeah,
with-
it's just changing perspectives.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but when returning to the present, I mean, if they smell so good in the future, like I would have to live the rest of my life in
knowing
the-
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like flying coach after you've flown first class.
Yeah.
Yeah, you cannot. Yeah, that's
You cannot
Can't go
do it.
back.
don't use the time machine.
No.
Yeah.
Just skip.
It's like
the-
I've given this a lot of thought. I'm not going to use the time machine.
Okay. More time machine for me then.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, I guess this is it for now. Thanks for this, guys. This has been Iceland Roundup. See you next week.
You're welcome.
Goodbye.
Yes.
Goodbye.
I feel thoroughly round up.